All right, traders, good afternoon. This is Christian Farmer. It's Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Monday, December 2nd. So the first trading day of the month ended in not so great price action for the day. My overall theme of the video is going to be basically risk off. But I think really overdue, in my opinion, to see a little bit of a move down. Interesting, there wasn't any major move in bonds. Gold a little bit, but GLD still finished in the red today. So it just to me just seems like the market was looking for an excuse to give back some some of the overbought, really overbought conditions that we've been in for the last, call it the last week, I would say. Of course, everything that we're going over is for not for recommendations, not giving out any advice or recommendations, and information purposes only. So let me go into a couple of the things that I was watching for today. We'll keep today's video on the short side, but yeah, I mean, first off, it gets very difficult when the market gets overbought and just doesn't really have a decent pullback. We did have some decent volume. Again, the volume usually comes on market turns. I think that you could kind of classify that today, especially because we started the day higher. Futures were a bit up like 30 basis points pre-market, and then they were just kind of giving back and giving back. I think the headline that caused that was Trump announcing tariffs, steel tariffs to Brazil and to Argentina. But I think at this point, the markets were pretty much priced to perfection. So this was something that we talked about in the member video on Sunday. I led off with, I think, the first 10 minutes, and if anybody doesn't have the video, I'm happy to share that with you if you send me an email. But that was the first thing that I led off, was saying, hey, I'm looking for some type of a move back at some point this week. So we kind of led off the week that way. And I think that looking at how we kind of closed, this could be I don't want to say like, because I don't have a crystal ball, but it just feels like we might just have a little bit more of this digestion a little bit this week. Again, just looking at how things closed, it doesn't mean that that's definitely going to happen, but that's where my mindset is at, that we're kind of due for this and maybe come into the 20-day moving average. Some of the things that we talked about is how the RSI was extended. Oops, wrong tab here. The RSI was basically got to a 74. Usually we come in from that point in the indices, right? And it's tough because we did this and we burned off those overbought levels, which was really nice, and then we had a nice week of gains last week up until Friday. But you're just kind of, I think, just playing with fire or playing with dynamite a little bit with when the markets get that overbought and we don't check back at all. The other thing, that frame of reference, was we were talking about how the 5-day moving average was pretty extended from the 20. But again, it's been like this for for a couple of weeks. So I think we did a really good job overall, kind of riding this trend out. I saw some people who have been kind of waiting for a pullback on Twitter this weekend, or waiting on some things for like the last 2 or 3 weeks to develop. I think we've just did a really masterful job the last few weeks, playing this and kind of hitting trades all along the way to the upside, and reloading a little bit in here. So now it becomes, it's kind of a game of patience, in my opinion. I'll go through a couple of the scalping opportunities that we found, but overall for swing trading, I think it's a little bit of a game of patience, right? And not always jumping right in as soon as you see that first red bar. Because again, normally, as soon as we see this, right, we're like, oh, geez, we haven't seen any pullback, and we've been waiting to kind of, maybe deploy a little bit of money on a sell-off, but let it work its way through. We tried to rally here a little bit around 2 o'clock and just couldn't do it. The thing that kind of had me, and again, Valuary is always kind of helping me along the way. But the thing that I was noticing was that we didn't really take out some of these levels that I was looking for. Three, of course, we took this one out, and again, you didn't know how deep this pullback was going to be. I tweeted out a couple levels this morning. First VPOC was taken out, but I would really like the second one around 3108. I have a nice quote, and I was talking to one of the CNBC reporters, and they weren't asking for it, but I was like, hey, well, I would be a buyer if we go a little bit lower, right around 3108. That comes up in a couple different places. There's also a version point of control down here at 3108. So again, this is not that far away. This is like 5 handles away. So I think I would rather these things be taken out. I don't really want to leave these things behind come this close. So I was looking at a couple different trades today, like maybe putting on some index exposure, SPX, and I just kind of held off from doing it. And that's the nice thing about these value areas is that they can help you stay on the sidelines when you need to be on the sidelines, or need to be. I did add a couple trades today. I'm happy to go over those. But let's go back to the performance, and before I get into like what I day traded and so forth. But you could see small caps also, after leading last week, also gave back 1.2%. Now I don't have anything. I don't have a frame of reference very close, so I'm kind of waiting to see if they bounce here, but. I don't think we have anything, lower. So we already have the value area for tomorrow. Watch 160.04. Don't want to really see that level be broken. I would rather we chop around for the day. Maybe explore the lower end of it, and then kind of go from there. But the fact that IWM really provided no bounce on the day, that also kind of makes me feel that we're going to have a little bit of continuation. And not like a bounce right away. If we do bounce, that's fine. I've got some trades on for that, but I'm leaving plenty of ammo just in case it's more of the 2 to 3 day. And it's fun. I have to say, like, I think sometimes when you're positioned, or like, if you're not someone who does a lot of shorting, sometimes, if you get caught in a couple, with a couple longs, you stress out a little bit. Listen, I'm caught with a couple longs too. You're not going to be able to time this thing perfect, right? In terms of, there's going to be a whole bunch of hindsight people come out, but it's been really tough to say, hey, when are we going to have this kind of washout, right? So you have to have some skin in the game, because you don't know, if no one knows if we're going to kind of continue to kind of grind higher a little bit. So I'm not really worried about that. Like, I've got an ITB long on. I've got a couple other things that I actually added into a little bit of Friday's weakness, which are faring okay. So again, not really too stressed out about that, but I'm more excited about the opportunities that this creates. So we just haven't seen many things kind of come in. So I think I'm more excited about the possible opportunities that this creates, as long as you kind of let it wash its way through a bit. All right, so let me just talk about I talked about the small caps. Bonds were kind of interesting. There was basically no love for the bonds today. This is what the daily chart looks like. Keep in mind, if you're analyzing some of these charts and they're not dividend adjusted, like this chart that I have is not dividend adjusted. We had some people, which again is good to go over, but talking about like HYG may look like it's breaking down. Keep in mind, some of these bonds, right? They bond ETFs, they do pay out dividends, right? So if you're not capturing the dividend in something that pays a lot of dividend, I don't think you're analyzing. You may not. I don't want to say you're not, but you just may not be. You may not be analyzing it the correct way, because HYG, which has a 5% yield, when ex-div today. So I think it's going to look a lot different to you if you look at the charts that are dividend, that include the dividends, right? TLT, same thing here, maybe breaking the 100-day moving average today. Still, it did not really take out that high that we spent some time analyzing this chart. It did not, it kind of came right in line with this, but it looks like it made a lower high than here. So moving back down again. I did not see any major bid to to bank stocks today, even though rates creeped up a little bit today with TLT going down. There was a small call buyer in BAC. I don't think anything to get really excited over, and it looks like that trade did not work for the day. Other than I think it got pumped in financial media, but finished up 10 basis points. And I think overall, KRE, which I was looking at for this to take the next leg higher, had a big was down 60 basis points today. I don't want to say big down day, but again, volume. I also thought it was interesting that it was first trading day of the month, where usually new money gets put to work. Some of the things that went up today, so maybe there was some new money that was being put to work, but maybe just a little bit more in defensive areas of the market. As you could see, a pretty just decent washout, right, in terms of names that were declining. The other thing that we noticed today was market breadth did not improve, which is sometimes, as we get to the tail end of a pullback, and even if it's a one-day pullback, we usually see market breadth improve. If you just take a look at the bottom of the screen, we really did not see that, right? And that's something that sometimes happens on day 2 or day 3 of a small pullback, is that tends to improve throughout the trading session. So we did not see that today. Look at the volume here. Interesting. So again, first day of the month, but I think more conservative areas. Also, so we could look at the gold miners, which we went over in the weekend video. I talked a little bit about GDXJ and some of the silver miners. I mean, it's close. It's getting close to. I don't know if this is the right. Let's remove this. It's probably in here. I think I drew that in Sunday's video, and I knew it wasn't correct. So let's try this one more time. Probably something like this, right, for GDXJ. And I like this a little bit better than GDX. Although gold miners, very similar looking. But I think the junior gold miners seem to be leading the move here a bit. We'll draw the trend line right in there. Of course, the silver miners also looks almost identical. I went long a lot. So here's my one trade that I did today, or one of the trades that I did today was WPM, Wheaton Precious Metals, just breaking above value. PAAS, also a nice move today of 3.2%. So it looks like that one underperformed. It's still up 1%, and I think has plenty to go. So that's the one that I got long for today. Also Staples. I think that you could tell like there was something going on in the Staples today. If you look at some of the food names. So XLP looks like a pretty nice breakout, to be honest. Right, coming out of a little bit of coil here. And if you look at names like Mondelez, just look at the price action. So somebody wanted to get involved in some of these names, because it's not just Mondelez, it's GIS. This was brought in the trading room. Looks like a Virgin point of control being taken out here in GIS. Also Kraft Heinz saw a little bit of calls today. I'll check open interest on those. But Kraft Heinz, remember, got this downgrade by Goldman and got squashed, and has been kind of digesting since then. Trying to retake some of that sell-off. We'll keep an eye on that one. So yeah, definitely some. What was another one? Spam. HRL also did very well today. So again, it looks like there was some buying going on in the food stocks. So somebody getting a little bit more conservative, hence the risk off. So steel names also did pretty well today. XME, which is metals and mining, finished green, but no major move at the end of the day. And just further down on the list, again, this spreadsheet monitors not only the overall one-day change, but what went on over the day, percentage change from open. Now, again, most of them are down because the market sold off in the first couple hours of the day. Nothing really in the FANG stocks. They all finished. There's no bright spots, no real relative strength. Roku got hit hard on a broker downgrade today, but did come back a little bit from the lows. I thought Amazon. So I shot a video earlier, pre-market, on just basically setting up the view of Amazon. Uh, going forward, maybe for the rest of the year, I'm looking at some call spreads, but not yet, right? And that's sometimes basically how it works for trading. I did mention that it needed to hold 1775. It did that today, kind of held that at the end of the day. So we'll see how this trades. But basically, here's what I was looking at in the video that I sent out earlier today: is that we took out a virgin point of control. Now it needs to retake this 1820, and that's important on multiple time frames. 1820 is also up here as well, top of value. And then we've got a whole bunch of virgin point of controls, but it's got to hold in here, maybe find a footing in the beginning of this week, and then start to improve from those lows. But first things first, I think it's somewhat constructive that Amazon held the bottom of value. And we'll see. That may be a play that I set up tomorrow for call spread. Now, considering that the picture changed from where we opened, now maybe looking for a move through value, which again, right now, we've got some nice road ahead, basically, for Amazon. That's enough to do a call spread. All right, other things that I traded today. We did some shop. Shop was a really nice day trade. Notice the recovery in this, right? I like when everything gets hit like it did in software today. I got a few questions. Actually, somebody in my office today was asking me, "Hey, why is software off so much?" Well, because these are momentum names, and when they run up like this, right, they're due for that. Also, same thing with biotech, which did okay. It held in there, but biotech, it's still overbought. On the RSI, it's still a 75 RSI. So it's funny because we do a contest every month, right, where the winner gets a free month of the trading room, and the top two picks for last month were biotech names. One was MYOV, which was up over 220%. And everybody, no, I shouldn't say everybody, but 3/4 of the picks were biotech, small cap biotech. So that just tells me that there's a lot. I think everybody's kind of thinking the same thing and positioning or looking for when the next one's going to move. But I personally think that they've gone. The move is already done, and now it needs to digest and then maybe can take that next leg higher. But I wouldn't be surprised if biotech digests for the whole week, honestly. And again, if it doesn't do that, that's fine. And if it goes higher, fine as well. But I'm just saying, I would think after the run it's had, I would expect at least a few days of digestion in the biotech group. Also, so shop was a nice little trade for the day. Also, look at the VPOC it took off. It took out. I also traded some service now in the beginning of the day. I did not hold it for all the gains that it made. I think I've bought it in here and sold it around here. This would have been a nice re-entry for the day because it had more to go. But again, and this is what putting together basically a plan for the day, which is what members get. I put together, even though I said in the beginning of the video that I thought we were due for a sell-off this week, right? Then I've got my go-to names. Like PayPal was another one that did pretty well today. I did add some shares of Plan, right, which is another name, and I'm up a little bit in that. I added that right around the lows. Disney was another name I did not trade. I didn't trade this one today, but look at the VPOC being taken out. Nice reversal on that. Again, that's why VPOCs are so useful. That goes from back here. Again, virgin point of control means that price did not go through the value area. So see how the price went through, price did not go through the point of control. So here, price hit it here, price hit it here. But price was not even, barely even in this point of control, in this value area, and the point of control was left. And you could see how that was taken out. So nice little trade there. All right, so I said I would try to make the video a little bit shorter than normal. I failed to do that. We're right around 19 minutes. But again, sit tight. And I think the hardest thing to do always in trading, I think, is to sit on your hands when you're supposed to a little bit and just back off. and just kind of wait for the setups to materialize a little bit better. That's what I tried to do today. But I did add a few things into the weakness, which again I think being that no one has a crystal ball, and I think that we could have a little bit of digestion, but I don't know for certain. I kind of go after the things that I really have had my eye on for the last week, but I think have gotten a little bit overbought. There's PayPal, also nice little move from the lows of the day. All right, guys, have a great night, and I will see you back in the trading room tomorrow morning.